Hey guys, Dan Garner, strength coach and nutrition specialist here. I wanted to make this video to profile individual differences from a physiologic perspective when it comes to nutrition. So the reason why I'm making this video is there's a lot of absolutes out there, and physiology, biology, and nutrition just never operate on absolutes. There's a lot of things out there like you have to have zero point 0.8 grams of protein per day. You have to have zero carbohydrates. You have to have a ton of carbohydrates. And it's never like that. Physiology operates on a continuum like everything else. And individuals fall on different points of that continuum. And it's up to your own experimentation or the knowledge of the coach that you have in order to place you in the correct spot on that continuum. So just to give an example, when it comes to protein intake, Holtham and Rollins in 2014 worked with elite trained female cyclists, and they had them on different protein intakes. So there was the 1.39 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and there was also 2.72 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So a relatively low intake versus a relatively high intake of protein. And they measured nitrogen balance. Nitrogen balance, in a nutshell, is the difference between nitrogen in versus nitrogen out. Protein contains nitrogen. So things like eggs, steak, chicken, beans, these things will all contain nitrogen. And you lose nitrogen by metabolization of protein, and you lose it actually through your hair, nails, feces, urine. So when you're measuring nitrogen balance, you're measuring how much nitrogen you're retaining. So you can kind of look at it as like a protein balance type equation without directly measuring protein balance. Okay, so that's nitrogen balance in a nutshell. But they were comparing two groups that was 2.72 grams per kilo of body weight of protein per day and 1.39. And what they found was on the high protein intake, all the girls were in positive nitrogen balance except for subject number 5. Subject number 5 still didn't reach positive nitrogen balance even on a high protein intake diet. And what was estimated in that research is that she needed 2.83 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight in order to meet positive nitrogen balance. So that's inter-individual variability at its finest right there. 10 different subjects, one subject measured with nitrogen balance found that she still didn't reach nitrogen balance on even 2.72 grams per kilo of body weight of protein per day, which is high if you know your numbers in this research area. So that's a big difference right there, and it would be up to the individual or the coach to figure out what's going on and correct when things need to be corrected. And from a carbohydrate perspective, there's actually good research that started in 2007 that was measuring genes. So there's a gene known as AMY1, and people have different variability in copy number variations. So you could have a very low amount of this gene or a higher amount of this gene. And AMY1 is actually secreting and creating salivary amylase. So salivary amylase is an enzyme in your mouth that breaks carbohydrates down so that it can be digested and absorbed properly. So the more AMY1 that you have, the more amylase is being created in the mouth, the better the carbohydrates are being broken down. So the correlations that they've seen with studies in AMY1 is that the more AMY1 you have, the lower your BMI is. And the less amount of AMY1 you have, the higher your BMI is. So difference in weight variations here, and also differences in carb tolerance as well. And this is a genetic perspective. And the research that was done in 2007 actually found that more traditional high-carb diets, such as Japan and Europe, they had an average of 7 copies of this gene, whereas a really northern city in Russia was found to only have an average of 4 copies. So it's difference based on ethnicity and traditional diet as well. But the copy number variations seen in the research is anywhere from 2 to 16 copies. So that's an 8 times difference in genetic variation when it comes to this salivary amylase production in your mouth that can break carbohydrates down and allow you to properly absorb them. So we've now seen a difference in protein intake with somebody, and there can be a lot of difference with carbohydrate intake in somebody, but with hydration as well. I mean, we all have a friend who sweats a lot, and we have a friend that doesn't sweat a whole lot. But then if you look at some people's sweat after it dries with a white lining. So they're losing a lot more salt than some other people. So some people sweat more, some sweat less, some sweat more salty. This would change their electrolyte balance and their overall hydration needs throughout the day, and therefore should change your coaching ability for their water intake or your own experimentation for how much water you should be drinking. So I just wanted to bring those three things to light. Individuals are gonna individual, all right? I'm probably doing a little bit of individualing right now, okay? This is something that is advantageous for a coach to have, or for you to have a coach, and understand that absolutes just really don't exist. And these are only 3 examples of the many examples out there that we could talk about individual variability. Thanks for watching.